I don't know about you, but I'm looking at deer and I've got the wind on my neck, which is just wrong, isn't it?
Yeah, it's been swirling about all day. Normally by this sort of time of day you'd maybe be expecting the wind to settle in one direction, but it makes it very difficult when the wind's so changeable.
Yeah, and they're looking this way and they must have scented us. It's one of those difficult days. I mean, that's a challenge, isn't it?
Yeah,
You never know
absolutely.
what nature's going to throw at you.
Yep.
In the valleys that nestle between the highlands, there are other challenges for the followers of bushcraft. While the acres of ancient forest are magnificent, there's also an awful lot of water, not all of it in the lochs.
This environment is notorious for the moisture that's here, and that can make firelighting a real problem when you need one. In fact, even Queen Victoria once had a problem with her fire when her trusty manservant, Mr. Brown, couldn't get the fire to burn properly when she was out on a picnic. And that meant that the regal tea didn't get properly boiled and was ruined.
So in honour of her, I thought I'd reveal the secrets to lighting fire in the rain. Even though this wood looks sodden, most of it will still be dry on the inside, and cut into knot-free chunks, it can be easily split.
And this is the secret for Mr. Brown, if he's up there listening. Split wood burns better than wood which has not been split.
What I'm making is one of the most undervalued forms of tinder, the feather stick.
And I try to bulk up the shavings by starting to make the first shavings move away from my hand by lifting the point of my blade, like so. And then I work more gradually, bringing the shavings towards my hand by dropping the point. That way I get many shavings in a small area.
They're light with a match, but if your matches are soggy too, make really thin, tiny shavings alongside. These will catch from just a spark.
So I think if Queen Victoria was here today, we could assure her of a good hot cup of tea.
If you're wondering why I've lit this fire quite so close to a stream, there's a very good reason.
Here, the ground itself can burn. With all this moss in the forest, underneath you get peat. It's very important that we don't light a fire up in the forest itself, because we can set the ground alight and it can smoulder unseen for months sometimes before coming back to the surface and starting a forest fire. By coming down here onto the gravel by the river, not only is the ground not going to catch fire, but I can put the fire out easily with water from the river, and when the floods come, any ashes left will be washed away.
Down south, with the wealth of deciduous forest, we don't do too badly for autumn colour and opportunities, but all too soon.
Winter, we've come almost full circle, and once again the woods are calm and they're quiet. This is the time to reflect on the months that have gone, and also to get ready for Christmas.
With most of the forest taking its winter sleep, it's a bit like wandering into a theatre after a performance. There's a sense of great activity just finished.
At this time of year, one of the greatest joys of the woods, for me anyway, personally, is to come out and make a decoration for the upcoming festivities of the Christmas season.
What I want to make is a wreath, and as it's winter, this hazel needs just a little bit more coaxing to make it bend. It helps if you taper the ends. There. So that all sits together quite nicely. What I'm going to do now is I'm just going to bind those together. And that willow bark string I made in the summer is perfect. Then it's a matter of just gathering whatever's around for decoration, to take back to my bit of winter luxury.
Great to have a tent with a stove in it at this time of year. With a long cold evening, this perfect. And there's some real advantages too. A wood burning stove like that with a chimney means that you don't get smoked out, you burn less firewood, and you don't leave any fire scar on the ground. The best thing though is if it pours with rain or it turns really cold, it doesn't matter, because that is a real home from home.
It's designed for use in Arctic countries originally, and I've spent months living happily at -30 in one just like this. Short winter days mean there's barely time to sort the essentials like firewood and light before darkness falls, but the long evenings prompt the contemplation of the year that has been.
I've been able to not only see all of the seasons here in my homeland, Britain, something that's very dear to my heart, but I've also been able to travel to other parts of the world and see not just the good things of bushcraft, like people who still retain the skill of building a birch bark canoe, but I've also met people who are struggling to retain their traditional culture in the face of ridicule and misunderstanding.
It was a joy to share the skills of the Algonquin in making their canoes, but the highlight for me must be Venezuela. To be able to teach Saul and Benito to light fire again, to literally rekindle a skill that was lost, well, their joy and mine was overwhelming. Because I firmly believe that far from hurting the planet, the growing knowledge of bushcraft is helping our natural world.
When we employ bushcraft skills, it may seem as though we're consuming natural resources. But of course, the more we learn about the trees, the plants, the animals around us, the more we respect them. The more we respect them, the more we cherish them, and the more we nurture and take care of them. That is the underlying principle of bushcraft.
Survival in the political wilderness next. BBC Two's Evening of Comedy begins in just a few moments with Dead Ringers. BBC 4 is in Barcelona with a new series exploring contemporary life and culture. That's Tales from Spain, beginning now. And Ray Mears has written a book to accompany his bushcraft series with detailed information on survival techniques from cultures around the globe.